Hello everyone and welcome to the Kartrider Drift League opening weekend. I am State, joined with me is Peter, and together we will be kicking off 6 weeks of Kartrider Drift action as we start our quest to crown the best Kartrider players in the world. And I gotta say, it's a great day for Kartrider, it's a great day for esports. It's a new beginning here at the KDL and I cannot wait to get started.
Right, absolutely. It is such a blessing that we have just 6 weeks of so many matches coming up between our most talented players.
Yeah, and the opening match today too is going to be a star-studded roster. We have Liiv SANDBOX coming up against Sensation, two of the best teams in the world, facing it off in the inaugural match here at the KDL. I mean, it's a storybook beginning, and the future is very bright here for Kartrider in Korea.
Absolutely. It is definitely our most featured matchup of the day. You know, there's a lot of history between the teams in Sensation and Liiv SANDBOX. The captains were pretty much compared to each other to be almost equal in skill. And last time, Hojun, who is the leader of Sensation, got the better of Insu from Liiv SANDBOX. So we hope to see what happens this time.
There's a lot of rivalries that are carrying over here into the new game of Kartrider Drift. I mean, launched earlier this year. I've got to say, it's been a blast playing this at home. I've been trying to execute some of the same turns, the same drifts that we see the pro players do on streams. And man, it's harder than it looks. I got to tell you that. So I cannot wait to see some of the pro plays that we see these players come up with as we get started. And as you said, rivals going head to head here to start things out, and it should be a fantastic day.
Absolutely. You know, you were telling me about your struggles with the drifting and doing it as good as the pros, and I so relate to that. You know, I feel like racing games definitely have a spot in esports as one of the most highly skilled competitive games. It's all about do or die. You need to keep grinding and remember these map layouts when exactly you want to cut a sneaky little shortcut. It's crazy.
Yeah, and there's a risk-reward aspect of that too, you know? You want to go for that shortcut, but on a lot of these maps, especially in a game like Kartrider Drift, there's penalties. You collide with a wall, you take a deep fall, things can go south very quickly, and I gotta tell you, it's one skill that I certainly don't have coming from an RTS background, but it's just been so much fun to play, to watch, to learn this new game. And some of the players that we have playing here today are just straight up the best in the world. I mean, there's one story that is absolutely worth mentioning, which is the Emperor returning here to Kartrider Drift. Will he have the same success that he did in the original Kartrider? I can't wait to find out. Audience here absolutely packed. Everyone is so excited to get into the action here at the KDL. So many fans here. We have a packed stadium. And I cannot wait to get started, Peter.
Right, and we see a sign already for Moon Hojun comeback. People are excited, and there's another fan for Chae Young-hoon as well.
Yeah, fans coming out in droves here for the international audience watching. You should know that Kartrider Drift here in Korea, one of the biggest esports, one of the longest lasting esports with an almost 20-year history. And here we go, the overview for the matches in the preseason.
Right, so today for the main stages, we have a match up between Liiv SANDBOX and Sensation. Following that will be FINALEe-sports going against Reboot. And of course, there will even be a little bit more special lineup of Group A fighting it out later on.
Yeah, and the solo squads, 8 players enter, only 4 will advance to the round of 16 as we begin our march towards the postseason and that finals, as these players are all gunning for that 40 million Korean won grand prize. That is just under 40,000 US dollars. We're starting things up hot and heavy here to begin the Kartrider Drift League.
Absolutely, 40 million won. That can definitely buy you more than 40 cards. So I'm sure these players are looking at that and thinking, that's going to be mine today.
Absolutely. Here we have the track list for Team Speed, of course. The team matches will be 2 games on Team Speed, 2 games on items. And then if we go to an ace match, it will be a 1v1 solo speed between the 2 teams' ace players. So the track list, 12 maps here. Gold Rush, Winding Slopes, Rookery Rails, Bayside Bridge Run, and many others. Some maps easier, some maps harder, some a little bit riskier to take those very efficient lines on. And I'm so eager to get into these games.
Right, there's just so many different maps and so many different players, so there's going to be a lot of different preferences, especially when you have a completely different track list for the item mode.
Yeah, another 11 maps here for the item mode. We got Motherlode, Magma Cavern, Pharaoh's Pass, Icebreaker Pass, London Night, Gangnam Streets, Polar Halfpipe, Cogwheel Crush, Brody's Glue, Mushroom Caves, and the Istanbul Sunset Plaza. So really a full palette here. A lot of different things to keep in mind, a lot of different maps that you have to practice. A lot of these players were interviewed heading into the KDL, and one of the questions that was asked of them is, how often are you playing every single day in preparation for this tournament? And some players, I think Speed said in his interview that he was playing up to 10 hours per day, just grinding it out, getting ready for this tournament. And I gotta tell you, man, more than in an esport that's been around for decades, now that Kart Rider Drift here has only been out for a couple of months, the official release was, I think, in January, that practice is going to pay dividends. And that's a big reason why a lot of players here and a lot of people in the Korean community in general are talking about Speed as one of the highest potential players here to make a breakthrough in the KDL.
Right, and of course, we are showing you guys our today's matchup once again. To remind you guys, the first match will be between Liiv SANDBOX and Sensation, followed by FINALEe-sports and Reboot. And then you can take a look below for the Group A. This is considered the Group of Death.
Oh yeah.
The biggest competition is here for the solo matches. There's Insu, Hyunsu, Striker, Seungha, Cool, Luning, Spear, Glamint, so many famous and well-known players.
Yeah, a lot of these players could make it to the round of 16, the round of 8, and onwards. And it's kind of a shame that half of them will be eliminated tonight, but it makes for great television. So I can't be complaining, man. These games are going to be excellent. And once again, Liiv SANDBOX versus Sensation to start things out. You couldn't hope for a better match right here. A lot of these teams are saying that Liiv SANDBOX is the favorite to run away with the whole preseason.
Right. Pretty much every single team has voted Liiv SANDBOX to be the most likely team to finish first place this season. And it is no surprise when you take a look at their lineup. Coming in to mention Neil, for instance, he has been showing a lot of dominant performance lately.
Yeah, Neil from Chinese Taipei had a very early start to his career out there. The young age, Royal Roading a tournament out there, and then coming to Korea and doing the same many years later. As a lot of people call him the genius out here, as he has kind of a unique take on the game, can come up with some pretty creative builds, some pretty creative plays, creative lines, and man, I am excited to get into it.
Absolutely, here we go. We are bringing you guys the match 1 of the day. There you have it, Liiv SANDBOX. You can see their full roster right now. This is the team to watch out for. Everyone is looking at this man right now with his fan service.
Yeah, Insu, Hyunsu, Seungha, Neil and Taemin. It's just a great team right here. You see Neil there giving the eye to the camera as SANDBOX. I mean, just fantastic. Jimin, of course. These guys said they were very excited to pick him up in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean...
nice sympathetic wave here to the crowd, as there's a packed audience here to see these guys play.
Jimin was known as the I Am Ace, but of course we have on the other side Sensation, and you have such a big figure here, the literal emperor of Kart Rider.
Yeah, Hojun, a lot of people are wondering whether he's going to be able to put his mark here on Kart Rider Drift the same way that he did the original Kart Rider, and I mean, it sounds like he is geared and ready to go. Like, listening to the interviews, he is playing a ton. And this team is confident enough to run with a 4-man roster. You know, a lot of these teams, they'll pick up a 5th player that specializes in either speed mode or an item mode, so they have a little bit more flexibility. But Sensation with the confidence just to roll with speed, guard, Hojun, and percent. I mean, that's a big move from them as the players getting ready at their posts, gearing up to play. And we're just moments away from getting into the action here. You see Neil there all the way to the end of the podium as everybody here seems more or less running a 6-2-6 build coming out of Liiv SANDBOX, and 6062 there for Sensation. And if you're wondering what that means, that is speed, acceleration, drift, boost speed and boost duration right there. And there's a variety of different ways that you can build it, but largely people tend to prioritize the boost speed, and then beyond that, the max speed there with the 6 points in speed. But a little bit of a difference there between the teams with, I think it was Sensation opting for a little bit more drift duration. So we'll see how that comes into play here in this first best of 5.
And we have Liiv SANDBOX with a message to Sensation, showing respect to Hojun, saying, welcome back.
Yeah, a lot of respect among these players for each other, of course, with an esport with as much of a storied history as KartRider. These players know each other very well, and there's a lot of questions in terms of whether that skill from the original game is going to carry over here into KartRider Drift. And the games are similar, but no two games are identical, so there is potential for a lot of these young players to kind of come in and make a breakaway here in this new iteration of the game.
Right, speaking of the players, I want to touch back a little bit on the point allocations, because you see two different teams all running the same things within their team, but it's also opposite from each other. So as viewers, it is very interesting to see which one is the meta setter, because the team that wins is pretty much going to be able to say, well, we know KartRider better.
Yeah, that certainly is something you could intuit from this. Sensation favoring a little bit more drift drift boost duration as opposed to the acceleration, and
it's similar.
We will see how that comes into play, but at the end of the day, generally the way this thing goes is it's going to be the raw skill that comes through. It's going to be the team that's able to take the best lines. It's going to be the team that's going to be blocking and setting up their leading players to get those pole positions. That's going to walk away with a win here today.
And Sensation with the message saying, from today, my dream is to make it to the finals. See you there, Liiv SANDBOX. And what a saying. One of the biggest rivals that Liiv SANDBOX mentioned having was Guangdong Freaks, but Sensation is straight up saying, nope, we are going to make it there.
Well, I mean, they certainly have the skill to do it. There's a lot of teams that have the potential to make it to the final, especially in a game as new as KartRider Drift. I mean, we have seen upsets in games so far past in esports history. StarCraft 1 going into StarCraft 2, Age of Empires 2 into 3 into 4. New players rise up constantly. As we have the speed track list here between Liiv SANDBOX and Sensation, we will be starting on Glacier Extreme Stadium. That was Sensation's pick. Then Zigzag Timberland, New York Rally, Terracotta Twister, and Rickety Rails to round things out on map 5 if we do go to that ace match.
So it was actually Sensation that won the coin flip and was able to pick the Glacier Extreme Stadium for the first map. And what is interesting to note is that Speed, one of the mostly talked about players on Sensation, loves this map. This is one of his favorites, so we have to keep our eyes on Speed. How much can he show us in the map that he grinded the most?
Sensation gonna be really happy having that map pick there for Speed. But of course, the placement of the entire team matters here. Game is ready as Glacier Extreme Stadium is loading up. Players getting into the lobby, getting ready to go as we're about to have the first match ever here at the KDL. I cannot wait.
Here we go. We are bringing to you guys live Glacier Extreme Stadium.
And the countdown has started. Players are out of the gate. See Hoju immediately from the start going for some body blocking right there. And then getting bogged down a little bit there. Drifting just a little bit too close. And oftentimes this will happen at the start of a race with everyone in such tight contention. You see every single player trying to take the tightest possible line. Barely avoiding these pillars here in this straightaway.
Liiv SANDBOX is leading right now with Hyunsu and Seungha, but you look at behind, and Sensation is following right behind. Speed, this was his favorite map, and he's showing why right now, trying to go for cutting that first place.
Oh, but Seungha is doing a great job of zoning him out as Hyunsu's trying to increase the distance right now between him and the remaining players from Sensation. And here we go, coming into the hairpin section right now, a lot of tight turns coming up. Speed navigating this very well to Nitrous in the tank. He's still right on the heels.
It's getting really close. You see Sensation. They want to cut Liiv SANDBOX so badly, and now this is the final lap. So this will be their last chance to do so.
Yep, Speed is right on their tails, but look at this fantastic zoning from the top two players here for Liiv SANDBOX. They are not giving any room at all. Hojun, Speed, Percent, they've been hot on their tails this entire time, but unable to break ground.
Liiv SANDBOX now catching up even as a team. If you look below to the left, Liiv SANDBOX at 21 points right now, 3 points ahead of Sensation. Hojun has to take that first place.
Hojun passing Seungha there. It's very tight up here as we're getting ready to go into the hairpins yet again. 22-17 right now for Sensation as Hojun pulling into the lead. Hyunsu, he's not able to catch up, but look at the bottom.
Sensation is winning now. If Hojun can keep up this lead, it is going to be absolutely huge.
Hyunsu, he gets caught! He gets caught, and that's going to give the win right there to SST as they come with a fantastic finish there, winning the opening map.
You can see they're so happy right now. What a comeback. We kept talking about speed and Hojun, and these guys managed to pull it off. And you know what? I'm smiling with them. That was just excellent kart rider.
Yeah, that was some fantastic gameplay, and you can see right there, Hojun was trying to take the best possible line. New record 151 as, man, just fantastic play top to bottom. Sensation coming through with the map 1 win, 2 maps away from advancing here as we're going to see what the next map is going to be. Sensation Speed.
They are asking Speed to make sure that you can prove why you named yourself Speed. And if you cannot do it, then rename yourself to Item. Well, that's a bit savage.
I love that sign. I'm so glad Korean's much better than mine, man. I would have been left wondering, but that was a treat. What a wonderful cheerful here as we got a replay there of the finish. You can see Hyunsu, he was trying to take the best possible line, but just barely missed it right there. Gets bogged down, and that just secures the bag there for Sensation as they walk away with a win. But, I mean, even if he was able to pass through there, Sensation just from top to bottom was playing so solid that I think they were going to come away with that win regardless. So they got to be feeling really confident here, getting ready to go into Zigzag Timberland.
Especially given that this was the map that Sensation picked themselves, it was important to prove why this map was so important for them. As now, moving into Zigzag Timberland, this is a map that's preferred by 2 players on Liiv SANDBOX. So will Sensation be able to prove themselves?
All right, the game is loading up. Forest, Zigzag Timberland will be the next map. Can Sensation repeat once again?
Cute little dancing. And now, the real match begins. Nothing is cute anymore. It's gonna get really bloodthirsty. Sensation leading out.
Yeah, Sensation with a fantastic jump there. He saw guard body blocking multiple players there from Liiv SANDBOX, and that's gonna mean Speed, Guard, and Percent are taking the top 3 spots here as Insu gonna try and catch up here with these lines, accumulating as much nitrous as he can with these nice long drifts through these turns. You see how close these players are cutting it, just barely missing all these walls. Collision this game can take so much momentum away from the players, but look at how stacked this peloton is right here at the front. I mean, there's less than a fraction of a second separating any of these players.
6, now 7, 8 players are all toe-to-toe, trying to get what edge they can, but as you can see, each time someone tries to speed up, they're just getting blocked out by the players in the front. Sensation still keeping up a strong lead, but Liiv SANDBOX, they are definitely trying to catch up, still on their heels.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX hot on their heels, but the zoning from Sensation's been fantastic. And finally, no! Hyunsu, he had a breakaway, but wasn't able to make the turn in time, and that's going to cost him a lot of momentum now. As Sensation fortifies their position here at the top of the podium. Percent, Speed, and Guard leading the race as lap number 1 is done. And Insu, Hyunsu, they're going to have to make something happen here for their team if they want to win this map.
They are known as the Park-Soo duo, and they need to prove why right now. However, Percent and Speed keeping up an excellent teamwork in the blocking. Liiv SANDBOX, they managed to break them two apart.
Hyunsu and Insu gaining a little bit of ground right here. Hyunsu briefly stepping into the first place right now. Got a little bit of breathing room.
Liiv SANDBOX is now leading in points, 5 points ahead of Sensation. If Hyunsu can keep up the lead, that means he can also keep blocking Sensation. So Liiv SANDBOX definitely has what it takes to take this one home.
Yeah, it's very close right now, but with Speed taking the pole position, 20-19, as just a couple shakeups here in the lineup could lead to one team winning. Insu going to try and come in. Speed doing a great job of holding that first position.
This is so close. Sensation is leading only by 3 points, and it keeps going down to 1. Insu coming in hot. Liiv SANDBOX taking a huge lead.
Hyunsu and Insu doing some fantastic job. A Percent fights back right now in pole position, but will it be enough? 20-19. Liiv SANDBOX is going to take it by a hair there, and we're all tied up 1-1.
That was such a crazy lap number 2. It just kept going back and forth, and we just didn't know who's gonna win, and it was just by 1 point.
Yeah, 2019 tells the tale right there as Liiv SANDBOX with a much-needed win there on map number 2.
Yeah.
And that was about as close as it gets.
Much needed, especially because we mentioned earlier, there's 2 players on Liiv SANDBOX, both Seungha and Jimin, who excels at the map Forest, Zigzag, Timberland, and they were able to once again show why this map was such a preferable pick for them.
Yep, next map is going to be New York Rally World Tour.
Yeah.
We'll see which team is going to be able to come away on that one. 4 out of 5-star difficulties. It's one of the more difficult maps here in the speed mode.
You know, World Tour New York Rally is actually not a map, stated to be one of the favorites for Sensation. So it is interesting that they decided to go with that map. Perhaps, every player just feels comfortable on it. Maybe it's not their best, but everyone knows that they can do what they need to as we take a look at the replay.
Yeah, and man, this was such a tight race all the way here to the end. I mean, look at this. Hyunsu and Insu just a hair ahead from the pack.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really close, but Liiv SANDBOX pulling it through at the last moment, really showing why it is important that you are constantly focusing as we seem to be getting ready for our next map.
Yeah, the action just keeps coming here.
World Tour.
Map number 3 is loading up. World Tour New York Rally. The players are loading into the lobby.
I like that statue. It's a cute little twist.
It's a very cute statue.
Yeah, I mean, that's New York right there.
Yeah, it is. All right. Squad speed, map number 3. Here we go.
And we see right now Liiv SANDBOX leading out, but it is the beginning of the match, so right now I'm sure that players are not too concerned. They're just going to be keeping up their blocks as much as possible, trying to stay grouped together.
Yeah, Neil right now, the head of the pack with Insu and Seungha right behind him. Percent's going to try and close the distance just a little bit, but it definitely seems like Liiv SANDBOX is getting the better end of this trade so far.
Absolutely. I definitely feel like it's been a while since we've seen Neil leading the pack. This was a player that we've had a lot of expectations for. Right now, being chased to the knee by Percent, this is really close.
Going through that quick little shortcut right there, as this is one of the more straightforward maps, which has me a little bit worried about Sensation here, as there's not a lot of room to pass, but Insu, they were a little bit of a blunder, is going to make this a closer race than it was. A Sensation now only 1 point behind. If Percent and Hojin are able to close the distance, they're on Neil, who's one of the best individual racers in the world. Sensation might be able to come through with a round 3 win.
Yeah, Neil, but he is going to get almost taken there. In fact, he does. Percent, he's been on the toes of Neil forever, and now he's the one leading the pack as we see Hyunsu and Neil. Oh my god!
Yeah, this is just a one-lapper, so we're getting pretty close to the end right now. Every single position matters. Hoju loses a little bit of momentum right there, as Hoju is going to fall all the way down to 6th place, and Sensation, they need a little bit better than that. Finish line,
SANDBOX,
only 300 meters away.
They are just leading this one so dominantly. Every other match was pretty close, but this one was a whopping 5-point difference. The second Sensation hit the wall, I feel like that's when the game really turned.
Yeah, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX just had the better jump out of the gate right there. I don't know if it was the body blocking, I don't know if it was the line that they were taking, but they had the advantage from the very start. And on a map like that, it's not too easy to really make something happen because collisions are kind of few and far between, and there aren't too many hairpin turns where you can try and take some kind of greedy angle to pass. And so Liiv SANDBOX is going to ride that momentum from early in the race and secure yet another map win, as it's now 2-1 in their favor.
And I was able to actually catch a little glimpse of a new record for Neil there. I don't know if that means it's his personal best record of all time, but that is really crazy. And that moment right there was so unfortunate. It really set Sensation back when they really needed to get through these maps.
Another fantastic win there for Liiv SANDBOX, as we'll see if they're able to close this one out. Terracotta Twister is going to be the next map. A little bit of a trickier one here.
Yeah, I mean, Terracotta Twister is definitely a map that Guard really likes to utilize, and Guard is a player that we definitely have a lot of expectations for in that Sensation roster.
And Terracotta Twister, one of those maps where if you're able to take a greedier angle, a greedier line than your opponents, you might be able to save some time, but there are some risks, especially in the indoor section, as we see depicted here, where you can fall off the track and lose a ton of time. So interested in seeing how the players choose to take those lines here at the mid game as we're about ready to get started. Clock is counting down and the racers are out of the gate.
As we see everyone trying to just drift as much as possible in order to get that nitro boost going. As we see the players now really speeding up. We see Speed and Hyunsu and Neil leading the pack.
Hyunsu and Neil with a fantastic start again, but Sensation closing the distance a little bit here with Speed, Percent, and Hojun holding the second, third, and fourth spot there for just a moment.
This is really close right now. Everyone is trying to gain whatever advantage they can, but however, this duo in Speed and Percent, these two players were mentioned as players that really stepped it up.
I think a player might have actually dropped there. I'm not sure if it was Speed who falls to the bottom of the rack. And now Sensation, once again, 20-19. They're going to have to hold this first place position if they want to win this race, as Percent falling a little bit behind Hyunsu. Hojun also hot on the tails, fighting neck to neck with Insu there, as Sensation just once again trying to close distance, and it feels like this has been the story here for Sensation for the past 3 maps, is just trying to catch up here in the mid game. Let's see if Liiv SANDBOX is going to budge.
As we see so many players just blocking each other out, allowing the 2 players ahead, Hyunsu and Percent, just to pretty much have their own little 1v1. Hyunsu definitely looking comfortable on this map so far. We haven't seen him blunder even once, but Speed, you mentioned earlier, he fell off the map and he's still at 8th place. He hasn't managed to recover and it's really setting them back.
Another close line right there for all these players, but able to successfully navigate it as you see the peril of potentially falling down there. And Percent, try to make a play to pass, but instead gonna get the tail out of that is Liiv SANDBOX in dominating fashion right now. First, second, and third heading into the finish line as this looks like another map win. 28-11, the final score is, man, that Hail Mary play for Sensation not working.
You can see, he's like, what's going on? Like, kind of having a good time. That was really great. You can see Insu right there giving his teammate a little bit of a high five. And Liiv SANDBOX, what a team. They are fully living up to their expectations and showing us why they are the team that we were all looking at. Look at Hyunsu.
Yeah, it feels like every single map, Liiv SANDBOX was playing a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And right now, they are certainly riding some momentum with a 3-1 map score here in the speed portion.
Liiv SANDBOX, such a dominating way to finish off their speed mode. And now, actually what's going to be coming up is potentially the item mode. And this is when things get really interesting, because we mentioned earlier, Sensation has only 4 members, and their members are not known for being really great at item tracks. So Sensation, this is where they're kind of at a disadvantage. Will they be able to have what it takes to fight back?
Yeah, and Liiv SANDBOX here likely going to rotate out Neil for Seungha. He is their item track specialist. As we're getting ready to go into Mushroom Caves, and you know, in speed mode, every single position matters, right? Of course, in first place, you get the most points for your team tallying up there in the bottom left, but second, third, fourth, fifth, all that matters. If you're in item mode, whoever crosses the finish line first, their team wins the map. So there's a lot on the line. We're probably going to see a little bit more body blocking, a little bit more perhaps sandbagging as players try to slow themselves down, perhaps do really tight drifts to get multiple items at different stages in the game. And man, from what I've seen in item mode in general, just watching pro players stream and playing myself, it is oftentimes just absolute chaoses. Here we go, the item track list. Peter, take it away. We got Mushroom Caves first.
And then we have Glacier Icebreaker Pass up next, followed by World Tour, Istanbul Sunset Plaza, and then of course another World Tour, Gangnam Street. And lastly, Factory Brody's Gloom, which is a map that I have seen some players mention before as one of their favorites. So it is going to be definitely a really action-packed, going all over the place. As you mentioned, players not necessarily trying to all go past the finishing line. It can be more about teamwork in this one.
Oh, absolutely more about teamwork, even more than speed mode. And yeah, Factory, I love that you pointed out what a fun map it is, because that's one of my favorite maps to play on as well. And I was watching some of the developer videos where they talk about, the work that goes into designing these maps and the whole lore aspect of it and all the different gameplay elements they want to mix in. And I mean, it just shows the love that these devs put into this game. And I feel like Factory is one of the cherry on top. I mean, this is a cake with many cherries on it, but Factory is one of those cherries. Just love that map.
State, I feel like you just sold me a product right now. Before, I wasn't too interested in this map in particular, but now I'm definitely looking forward to the map as we see some fans for Liiv SANDBOX coming in and a definition of the player guard.
Kariga Muin? Definition, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's saying that it means when you prevent the other player from scoring a goal in basketball, which I'm sure it works in KartRider as well.
Yeah, I mean, he named himself guard for a reason. He will likely be playing very defensively here in his quest to lead Sensation to an item victory here as Mushroom Caves is loading up.
This is going to be a absolutely just action-packed match because especially that this is, after all, the first item mode that we are going to get to see.
That's true, man. It's going to be absolute chaos here as... All right, first item's getting picked up. I think that was Hyunsu there with a shield. UFO in the pocket here, 4%. We'll see when they decide to use that. Actually, guard with a UFO as well, so Sensation with two UFOs.
Oh my god! Speed not being able to play the game, got all the way sent back.
Oh.
Water Wisp!
There we go, Percent getting taken down there by the Water Wisp, and Jinmin right now with a comfortable lead. We'll get hit there by a Water Balloon, and Percent taking it back. And this is kind of the story of item mode. More often than not, is you just kind of see these players consistently trading places there at the top of the pack. But with Sensation having 4 of the top 5 spots, you've got to be feeling good about their chances.
Not even that, you really have to be concerned. If you take a look at the map to the right, you see just how far ahead Percent is right now. Liiv SANDBOX really struggling on this item match.
Yeah, a little bit. Is Percent Hojin right now in first place. Angel Guard coming in.
That's a big one. It's one of the most important items, but Jimin, he was so close, but gets knocked out before he's able to take a lead.
Yeah, Speed and Guard have been doing a fantastic job on the tail end here, on the Vanguard, so to speak, here for Sensation. Just kind of slowing everybody down as you see Insu protected with an Angel Shield there from that Water Balloon. Is going to allow him to close the distance just a little bit. Timing on that Angel Shield, so critical here. Is actually he picks up 2. That's a nice grab for him.
Yep, he's definitely going to be looking forward to getting the most perfect opportunity to use them, which is why he is saving them right now. Everyone on Liiv SANDBOX side trying to catch up to Percent, but how do you catch up to a guy that you can barely see?
Well, they're doing it. Hyunsu and Insu right now, and first with some great item usage. Those Angel Guards coming in clutch.
Huge comeback. Oh, Hojin tried to go for it, but he gets knocked back. And Liiv SANDBOX, what a win once again.
Yeah, Sensation looked like they were in a pretty commanding position there to start things out, having 4 of the top 5 spots, but Liiv SANDBOX with some fantastic item usage there. Not only taking pole position, which is the point that matters in this one, but taking 4 out of the 5 spots. I mean, that's just crazy performance from them. Liiv SANDBOX got to be feeling so confident, not only winning 3-1 on speed mode, but now here winning map number 1 on item as well.
I am absolutely impressed right now, State. Liiv SANDBOX, their focus has been so on point. It doesn't matter how behind they are in the early game or the mid game. That final lap is where they really shine because you never know when they're just going to come and just put you back into 8th place.
Yeah, and whether you play in a solo item mode, as a casual fan, or squad item mode, or even as a pro player, oftentimes, at least in my experience, you don't really want to be in that first place for too long, It kind of puts that target on your back, and so Liiv SANDBOX just doing a perfect job of kind of navigating that distance perfectly, staying within striking distance from first place, and just relying on their item usage there right at the tail end to come through and secure the win. Fantastic play all around.
Right, and of course now we are ready for our next match, moving into Glacier Icebreaker Pass. And now this is a map that Sensation picked themselves. So will Sensation finally be able to put a dent into the invincible shield of Liiv SANDBOX? We're about to find out.
They certainly need to win here as the racers are off. Percent gonna be trying to pick up an item. Oh, actually missed one there.
Yeah, I mean, missing an item is absolutely huge. We see the bananas coming out to distract the players.
UFOs as well, as it's complete chaos here to start things out. Jimin gonna throw a banana himself.
Hyunsu with the Angel and the Magnet. That's a lot of powerful items right there. We're seeing Hyunsu actually just getting that first place, followed up by Percent. It's just going back and forth.
Yeah, and I don't think the position matters all that much right here. As long as you're in striking distance of the opposing team, as you see right there, Guard just kind of sandbagging himself a little bit, doesn't care too much about taking speed. Saw him crash into the wall to try to get 2 items at once.
Yeah, right now we are seeing players definitely at the back trying to salvage whatever really good items they can for the team. You know, we've seen earlier that double Angel coming in really nicely, and we see Insu purposely slowing himself down.
Yeah, he was hit by that magnet, so he slowed himself down to prevent the opposing player from getting too much of a boost by that thing, as it does, you know, attract whether they're in front of you or behind you. And now Percent in first place with double shield is going to dodge 1 active ability now. Both shields down here for Percent, and Jimin taking the lead.
Yeah, I mean, the shields definitely came in clutch, but it doesn't matter if Jimin is in the lead. Now, Sensation needs to find a way to knock Jimin out, because this is going to be the final lap.
Yeah, this is a dangerous position here for Percent, as you see Hyunsu, Sungha, and Insu all right behind him there for a brief moment, holding positions 3, 4, and 5, as you see there. Does get hit by, I think, the Wisp, and now Liiv SANDBOX once again, Hyunsu and Jimin holding the line.
Now it's just Hyunsu. Hojin is going for it. He's at the first place now. Oh!
Yeah, these teams going blow for blow as Barricade's getting up. Sungha going to avoid those right behind Hojin right now, as a magnet will slow him down. And it's actually Guard taking first place right here with speed.
Oh my god, Liiv SANDBOX.
Man.
How do they do it time and time again? You look at him, he is so composed. Insu giving the thumbs up to his teammates. The captain is satisfied.
You know, for a moment there, I thought Speed was going to walk away with it, but at the last possible second, Liiv SANDBOX coming in with yet another win. As these guys, I think they dropped, what, map 1, and then they have won, what is it, 5 maps in a row, 3 in speed and 2 in item. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of teams are saying this is the team to beat in this tournament. Because Sensation, let me tell you, they are no pushovers. Not only do they have speed, a very bright up-and-coming player here in KartRider Drift, but they also have Hojin, they have Gar, they have Percent. It's a strong roster, but Liiv SANDBOX, it just feels like they're on another level right now.
Liiv SANDBOX absolutely composed. You know, when players have the mental advantage, it does actually affect the gameplay. So they need to find a way, Sensation, to get some motivation back into the team, get the hopes high for the next map, which is going to be coming right up.
Yeah, Istanbul Sunset Plaza will be the next map. So our players are loading into the lobby. Sensation desperately needing a win right now. Will they be able to pull through here on match point?
I really like the graphics of Istanbul. Man, I gotta go there one day.
All the graphics in this game are honestly just so beautiful. It's one of the things I was most impressed by when I started playing, was just how gorgeous it really looks. I mean, it's just fantastic. Here we go, the races are off. Percent with a nice shield there, gonna be able to dodge that early Wisp, as he's gonna continue to hold pole position for now. Speed passing him just there for a moment before he gets hit by, I think, a rocket.
I mean, players are just absolutely just knocking each other out right now, but it is the first lap, and in this map, there are 3 laps, meaning we are in for a long ride. We're going to be seeing a lot of crazy strategies come out of players, definitely this time not prioritizing perhaps being in the lead necessarily, just trying to stack the right items.
Yeah, we saw that from Liiv SANDBOX just a moment ago, as Sungha, although he was the leading player on his team, slowed down just to pick up that extra second item there.
And you mentioned Sungha as the specialist of the item mode for Liiv SANDBOX, right? And he's absolutely showing why, as we move on to the second lap, things are definitely going to start speeding up a bit more.
And things are looking fine for Sensation yet again, as they keep continuously holding top spots here in the lineup. But this happened both in Game 1 and Game 2, and Liiv SANDBOX, both those times, were able to come back. So I'm a little bit worried here, as Liiv SANDBOX now in positions 2, 3, and 4, or at least briefly in 4, as Sungha now drops down to 5.
You know, they look like hyenas just ready to pounce. That's what really just coming to my mind right now. And actually, Liiv SANDBOX did mention that their team strategy is to be a hyena.
Yeah, they're definitely a pack animal for sure right now. Working very well as a team here. as Glamint and to see if he can find something to happen. He does have that water balloon in the bag.
I feel like Liiv SANDBOX is just watching speed right now. Hey, you can have your first place, but you know, this is the third lap now, so we're gonna really rev things up and get serious.
I'm liking this position for Sensation, though. I mean,
yeah,
in just a couple of seconds, they're able to take the top 3 spots here in this lineup as Seungha's gonna try and slow them down. Wisp coming through. Seungha right now with a magnet and a water balloon. If he's able to get a nice AoE hit onto Speed and Hojin, he can make it happen, but no, we'll get the Wisp there. Coming through.
Be huge.
Yep, Hojin does get taken down, and right now Speed in pole position right here on the final lap. Yunsu and Insu, though, actually passing.
Yeah, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX, they do it again right now. Insu definitely putting pressure on Sensation. The Angel coming in at the right time to save Insu. And Liiv SANDBOX, are you kidding me?
Man, a clean sweep right there, winning all 3 maps there in item mode. And it goes to show not only the depth of this roster, but what a value it is to have that extra 5th player who is a specialist on item mode, because Seungha made some great plays there, providing space for his teammates, and their game plan from top to bottom just was ferocious. I mean, you could see them very often letting Sensation kind of take those early position leads on lap 1, on lap 2, waiting for their prime time to strike, and it worked every single time.
Every single time. You can just say that again to me right now. As you see, a just really satisfied Neil. I feel like Neil didn't even have to shine today. Of course, you know, he didn't have to play in the item mode. He is saving his strength, you know, for the bigger matches.
I like that idea. He's like a battery. You know?
Yeah. Just charging up in the back.
Yeah, but I mean, on almost any team, Neil would be the best player, if not one of the best players, right? So the fact that Liiv SANDBOX has the depth in their roster to bench him, to put in their item specialist in item mode is just spectacular there. And you see it right there, 3-1 speed, 3-0 in item of Liiv SANDBOX will be winning the opening match here at the KDL.
Right, we didn't even get to a set 3 ace solo mode because there was no tie between the two teams. Liiv SANDBOX just looking so great. They were not worried at all throughout this whole entire match today. Sensation must be feeling down because I know Sensation voted themselves as the most likely first place team of the league. Liiv SANDBOX coming in second. So Sensation definitely got to do some work, maybe review teamwork and what they could improve on.
Yeah, that is one of the benefits, I think, of playing arguably the strongest team in the tournament first, is that you're going to be able to learn a lot from that match. I mean, yeah, you're going to walk away with a loss today, but you can go back, you can watch the VODs, you can see the lines that Liiv was taking, you can see the way that they were playing in item mode, and perhaps you can pick up some of their strategies, some of their lines, some of the ways that they were working together as a team and adapt that into your play for the rest of the tournament.
Right, perhaps one of those strategies could be pick up a strategist, you know, specialist in these roles. Item mode, it has been mentioned as the weak role for Percent and Speed, which were 2 players coming in with a lot of expectations on them. Katrider was a game where they suddenly started shining more than the original Katrider. They were just being looked at by all these players, but unfortunately not being able to show up in the item mode.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of a time to adjust to a new game. And of course, as you said, going from a 4-man roster against a 5-man roster that has an item specialist, they didn't look too bad against Liiv SANDBOX there in speed mode. It was a 3-1 map score, but the maps did feel closer than the score might indicate if you're just looking at, you know, the final results. So I think a little bit of work in their item game and their speed game, I feel like they're still strong enough to beat a lot of the teams here in this tournament. They've got a bright future ahead of them. And just a fantastic opening match here.
Right.
At the KDL.
Going back to some of the history in Katrider, I want to touch up on that rivalry we mentioned earlier between Insu, the captain of Liiv SANDBOX, and Hojin, one of the biggest players in Katrider on the side of Sensation. Last time, Hojin won against Insu in the 2020 Katrider League Season 2 playoffs. This time, Insu was able to come in and say, Hojin, it's my turn now.
Yeah, the Emperor has been dethroned, but perhaps only for a moment as Sensation. Their future is still promising. You know, we were looking over at the player, the stat sheets and, you know, the interviews and questions that were asked to the players before we went on broadcast today. And a lot of the pro players, not only on these teams, but on other teams around the league, were saying that, They think speed has perhaps the most potential, at least the most untapped potential for any player that's playing in the league right now, and he did seem strong here in these first opening maps.
Right. I mean, we can't forget that when you're going against the best, you kind of start to look not as best because, when you have two best teams fighting against each other, it's really knee to knee, toe to toe. And honestly, I can't wait to see more of Speed. We definitely haven't seen enough of this guy. And I'm pretty sure that once we give him more matches, he's just going to be speeding across the track and, no name change will need to happen. And like the fan said,
He'll be living up to his name.
yeah, give him
Yeah.
some time.
Absolutely. And I mean, we harped on it earlier, but Liiv SANDBOX just an absolute powerhouse right now. You were even mentioning that some members of the Korean kart rider community were describing this as potentially the perfect team, an
Mhm.
all-star roster from top to bottom.
Right.
And they certainly proved it today against Sensation. I mean, what was that 6-1 map score? I think after map 1, they were just completely churning out nonstop domination, and even at moments where it seemed like it might be a little scary for them there in the item mode, where Sensation was able to take, position 1, position 2, position 3, heading into the later rounds, the later laps. It seemed like Liiv SANDBOX just had an answer for it every single time, and that kind of consistency. I mean, if it happens once, you might think it's a fluke, but 3 maps in a row? I mean, they've got some keen strategies coming into this.
That's why we have 6 weeks. This is not a short,
Yeah.
elimination round. Unlike the group matches we're going to have later, these teams, they're definitely here to stay and prove to us, more of what they prepared. And honestly, I really enjoyed getting to see some of these maps play out today. You mentioned to me about some maps requiring a little more control around your drifting, knowing when to take the shortcuts, a bit of a riskier move, which could be a bad thing to do, right? When you're in the lead, so you want to just take a safe route. But I mean, there's just so many strategies and depth to the cart, which is why it is such a pleasure to now bring over this grace, this gift to the global viewers.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I mean, the mechanical skill that comes into playing this game is absurd. When I started learning this, it's like it's the arrow keybinds, and you got your shift to drift and stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's like 7 buttons. How hard could it possibly be? And then you try to do it, and it's just absolutely impossible. But guys, we're gonna go to a quick break. When we get back, more kart rider action. Don't go anywhere.